I've been admitting that, Tom, that it's great to have a win, and a win is a win. But I also subscribe to the Wayne Bennett philosophy that after a win, you should actually focus on what you can do better, not how good you are. And the facts are 2/3 of the voters there in Upper Hunter did not vote for the Nationals candidate. And there was a significant vote for the minor parties, if you put them together, Shooters and One Nation. So we've got a lot of work to do to keep the trust of people, and the lessons that the Labor Party are displaying all over our screens at the moment. So one's for us too, that people in these communities want action, they don't want talk, and that's why we should redouble our efforts to back coal power. That's what they want. That's what I heard on the booths. They don't want a gas-fired power plant. They want their own coal, their own communities using and providing their own power. And that's what we should be doing.
So, I mean, if you look at the overall results, though, yes, we had the swing against the Nationals, but we had a lot of scandal within the Berejiklian government. It's easy to say that voters didn't want to reward Labor, had a bit of a scandal-plagued government and threw their vote around to a few minor parties.
10 years ago in this seat, the Nationals Party were getting 50-60% primary votes. That is part of a broader trend, of course, that's occurred across the country where the major parties have lost trust from voters. And maybe there was some view that perhaps the pandemic would halt or reverse that trend of an increasing minor party vote. But I think the results on the weekend show that there is still a level of frustration out there. There is still about half the electorate who voted for parties or independents that aren't either.
A lot of minor parties in this by-election too, right? The more you have, the more someone pick up the vote.
That's right. So, but look, if this had been, I'm being absolutely honest with you here, Tom, if this had been a compulsory preferential election, we might have been in a bit more trouble with a 32% primary. But with optional preferential voting, a lot of the votes exhausting, we did it comfortably.
You mentioned a coal plant versus a gas plant, so you don't support the Kurri Kurri gas plant that was announced?
Oh, look, look, the gas plant will keep the lights on, and that's great. That's great. But I actually want to bring manufacturing jobs back to this country. I don't think we should just be exporting our natural resources for other countries to create jobs and wealth for themselves. And we have the world's best thermal coal there in the Hunter Valley. So why don't we use some of that to create a coal-fired power station ourselves to replace the old and dirty coal-fired power stations that are there? I don't go away from that. I had a good chat with a greenie there on the booth on the weekend that the old coal-fired power plants there do emit way too much NOx and SOx. These are bad particulate matters that can cause smog and other issues. We should be replacing them with modern coal-fired power stations like they have in Asia, so we produce clean and reliable power.
Well, when you say clean, I mean, there's still a lot of carbon dioxide coming out of them.
Well, it's not going to blow the planet up. I mean, China's building...
It'll heat the planet up, won't it?
Well, it's not... China's... Okay, show me the maths which would say if we built 1, 2, 3 coal-fired power stations here in Australia, that would make a material difference to climate change.
Well, in of itself, but as we always talk about with this sort of thing, it's cumulative. If you put every single country the size of Australia, you're talking about a third of the world, and if emissions are still going up in those countries, they're not coming substantially down. We miss 2 degrees. We certainly miss 1.5 degrees in terms of limiting warming.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what planet those people who say those things are on, but I'm on the planet Earth, and on the planet Earth, there are countries like China building 100 coal-fired power stations as we speak, taking our jobs, taking our industry, and becoming stronger and more able to bully and threaten other countries. So on the planet Earth, I think we should actually look after Australians first, and we need to recognise that we live in the real world, not a fantasy world. And in the real world, other countries are we are voluntarily giving other countries our natural resources for them to become stronger and take our own jobs, take our own industries.
What's the evidence that coal is the thing that means our jobs are going?
Well, we're not going to keep... So the gas plant will keep the lights on, right? But we're not going to keep aluminium smelting in the Hunter Valley based on gas. It's too expensive.
That's why it's only there as a peaking option for 2% of the time.
That's right. It's only 2% of the time. I mean, you're not going to smelt aluminium from renewables. It's too expensive. It'll go to countries that have coal-fired power.
What do you mean by renewables too expensive to smelt?
Well, they clearly are. There's not a single major manufacturing facility in this world based solely off renewables.
Not solely. That's why you need hydro and also batteries.
Yeah, hydro is different. But we are now a net importer of steel. We have let China take all those jobs, take that industry. We import the steel made from our coal and iron ore back, but we're the world's biggest exporter of coking coal and iron ore. Why wouldn't we seek to build more steel mills here and use our own natural resources to create our own industries and create our own jobs? That's what people want in the Upper Hunter.
There's also a plan in the Hunter,
and that's what we should do.
There's also a plan in the Hunter for the world's biggest battery, 1,200 megawatts of capacity. 3 hours worth as well. Private
3 hours.
investment.
I mean,
Well, you laugh at that. Well, hang on.
This is all crazy.
Okay,
Like,
you
it's
laugh
all
at that.
crazy. Like 3 hours.
The gas-fired power plant was going to operate for 2% of the year.
What's
wrong with 3 hours at any
as I
given
said to you,
time?
I think we should be building a coal-fired power plant that can run 24/7.
But you said the carry wasn't bad. A battery can do that job.
It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. But
can a battery do the job of that carry gas plant?
Sorry?
Can a battery do the job of that carry gas plant?
Look, I doubt it. I mean, it's the problems for batteries always are that how long is a system going to be without the solar or wind or other resources you're using, non-battery resources. So,
but on carry we're talking about something that operates 2% of the year.
Yeah.
That seems like something that could be replaced by a battery, particularly the world's biggest and several other battery projects in the region as well.
Maybe it could, but it would be the same problem. We'd have the same problem where the power would be really expensive and we'd end up with those jobs going offshore. I mean,
what are you based on? Expensive power for renewables. What are you basing that on?
Sorry?
When you say it would be really expensive.
Well, just have a look at every country in the world that's increased their renewable power penetration.
A new coal-fired power plant, though, that Healy technology is not cheap compared to...
It is still much cheaper than renewables backed by batteries or other sources.
Is that the case?
Absolutely the case. I mean, if you
what are the two cost comparisons?
If you look at the CSIRO estimates at the moment, they claim that coal-fired power stations only last for 20 or 25 years and that there'll be amazing technological breakthroughs in the next 10 years which will make these things cheaper. But the firmed cost of renewables across the whole system is much, much more expensive. And you can't build a smelter or a manufacturing facility based on the chance that the lights might go off.
I know there are a lot of different estimates for it, but there are plenty that put firmed renewables as cheaper than coal.
Yeah, and all of those estimates are done for people who obviously have a vested interest or a particular ideological interest in seeing renewables go forward. I mean, do
you have an ideological interest in them not going forward?
Well, I've got
an
ideological interest in keeping our jobs here in this country. That's what I want to see. I want to see us not unnecessarily sacrifice our own industry, our own jobs.
If you see technology down the track and it's actually renewables firmed by batteries, which have huge leaps in technology. You'd be happy with that?
I'm absolutely not against renewables. When I was Northern Australian Minister, we backed the pumped hydro facility in North Queensland. That's great. I think we should invest in renewables.
So you're not ideologically against them?
No, I'm not against renewables. I just think they have serious limitations, clear limitations, which we see all around the world.
Which might be overcome. You don't think they have yet?
Well, they might. But I'm a senator and a representative of the people here and now. And here and now, I want to stop the flow of manufacturing jobs from this country to China.
Right.
From this country.
Just finally, vaccine passport. What do you make of this idea? The PM's still
totally
pushing?
Against it. We cannot have this. This is we're a free country. We should not have a two-class system across our nation. There are legitimate reasons why people cannot get vaccines for health and other issues.
You could have a carve-out for them.
Well, I really seriously worry about that. I worry about the culture. Like, I'll stick up for Anastasia Palaszczuk here. I really worry about all this pressure that's being placed on her to make a certain health decision. I mean, where are we going as a country? We're making people, forcing people, pressuring people to make particular decisions about their own health. They should be free to decide about their own health. I don't know.
Are you going to get the vaccine?
She might have a legitimate reason not to.
Are you going to get the vaccine?
Yeah, I plan to. I had my concerns about AstraZeneca, which were I suppose, somewhat vindicated.
Still on the balance.
I'm in the Pfizer category, and I don't think I'm up yet, but I plan to get it when it happens.
Senator Matt Canavan, thanks for your time today.
Thanks very much, Tom.